Thank you very much for that, and thank you for the testimony. So we're going to switch over to the opponents, or the proponents now. Opponents, yeah, opponents, yeah. Did I say proponent? I meant opponents. So who would like to begin? Whoever you guys choose.
I'll go ahead and start. Good morning. My name is Dan Goldwin. I'm the Chief Public Affairs Officer for the Jewish United Fund, Jewish Federation of Chicago, which is leading a coalition of hundreds of Jewish communal organizations, synagogues, and schools opposing HB 2723. Before I go any further, I want to thank members of this committee, starting with Chairman Vella, Subcommittee Chairwoman Manley, and Republican Spokesman Sosnowski, for your careful and thoughtful consideration of this bill. In 2015, the Illinois General Assembly unanimously passed HB 61, which pension funds in foreign companies. This was not a unique addition to our pension law. Illinois law also bars Illinois pension funds from investing in companies that offshore their headquarters, companies that doing business in Iran and Sudan, Russian and Belarusian companies, and companies that house children separated along our southern border. All of this is to say that aligning Illinois' pension investments with Illinois policy priorities and values has a long-held practice in the state. Another long-held practice in Illinois is to oppose economic and other forms of discrimination. The unanimously passed SB 1761, Illinois' anti-boycott, divestment, and sanctions law, is an important tool Illinois deployed to prevent wrongful discrimination and to provide certainty and reliability to Illinois' economy. The boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, commonly known as the BDS movement, is not an innocent protest movement against a particular Israeli government or individual Israeli policies. The BDS movement and its founders have made clear that at its core, they do not believe Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. They do not support a negotiated two-state solution in which Israel and a Palestinian state can live side by side. To accomplish their goal, BDS supporters look for opportunities to isolate and ostracize Israel, Israelis, and those who support them. BDS-led actions BDS actions include calls to boycott or divest from Israeli companies and American companies that do business with Israel, including Illinois' own Caterpillar, Motorola, and McDonald's. In case you're wondering why McDonald's was targeted, it's because the franchises in Israel offered free meals to Israeli soldiers who were called up to defend Israel and to rescue hostages taken by Hamas. BDS also calls for removing Israeli professors from academic institutions, associations, and intimidating venues into canceling performances by Jewish Israel supporters, like Jerry Seinfeld when he recently performed in Aurora, and Matisyahu, who had his 2024 concert at the House of Blues just down the street canceled because of security threats. These are not the actions of a movement for peace. These are the actions of a discriminatory movement that wants to isolate Israel, Israelis, and their supporters. Recognizing BDS's discriminatory intent and its potential negative impact on Illinois' economy, Illinois lawmakers took the limited and constitutional step of ensuring that Illinois pension dollars would not be co-opted by the BDS movement. It is absurd for the BDS movement to now claim that their ability to protest Israel has been impeded by this law. There are monthly, if not weekly, anti-Israel protests in places including Chicago's Loop and the Magnificent Mile. Illinois State Treasurer Mike Frericks' home and family have been protested and harassed multiple times, as have the private homes of Governor Pritzker and Representative Brad Schneider. Proponents of this and other BDS initiatives show up regularly at hearings and gatherings to make their opinions known and to hold regular press conferences in Springfield. With the exception of protesting private residents, they can do all these things because their right to protest is, and always has been, constitutionally protected. Foreign companies, however, do not have a constitutional right to receive pension fund investments. Illinois' anti-BDS law has been on the books for over 10 years, and over that decade, there are two important facts to note. First, only 28 foreign companies out of the 578 companies are on the restricted list because they support BDS. 494 of those companies are there because of connections to Russia. All of those companies are listed on the public website to investigate. And second, since the law went into effect, its legitimacy and constitutionality have never been challenged in court. Instead, all we have is an unpopular and divisive attempt to repeal a law that passed the Illinois House and Senate unanimously. Advocates for HB 2723 will often repeat a fanciful claim that the anti-BDS law has resulted in some amount of lost earnings to the pension system. This, however, is not true. It is incumbent upon the Illinois pension systems, as they have a fiduciary duty, to report concerns with any laws or legislation that may negatively impact the system or their returns. To date, not one of our pension systems have ever noted or footnoted that the anti-BDS law has led to any loss of returns or inappropriately tied the hands of investors. The passions surrounding this bill and the events coming out of the Middle East are real and they're powerful. And I do not question the feelings or the lived experiences of those on the other side from me on the Israel-Palestinian debate. However, the question of who has the right to what land and under what terms will not be settled in Illinois and will not be settled by repealing this law. The future of the Middle East will be settled by what Israelis and Palestinians accomplish together in places like Jerusalem, Ramallah, Tel Aviv, and Rafah. What we can do here in Illinois is to continue to stand against all forms of discrimination, including that favored by the BDS movement. We can create an environment where supporters of Israel and Palestinians can work together to find common ground so that they can help their friends and loved ones who live in the region find peace and security. We can come together to address the real problems facing Illinoisans every day, like access to health care, adequate housing, healthy food, and good education. All the time, energy, and resources wasted on this attempt to repeal this limited and constitutional law is time, energy, and resources that could have been used to make lives better. Instead, what we had is more division and more acrimony. On behalf of Chicago's and the broader Illinois Jewish community, I ask this committee, and eventually, if necessary, the entire House, to vote down HB 2723.